Hello, welcome to Nick Likes Magic. This is my weekly roundup for July 21st through July 27th. I watched 6 movies, 1 short film, and I engaged with a little bit of TV this week. So here's where you're going to find my thoughts on that. Um, okay, hope you enjoy. I'm going to start with a short film that I watched. After Obsession, I have sort of binged Curry Barker's work previous. So I watched The Chair this week, which I enjoyed. I think a lot of Curry Barker's ideas are very fun. They're not super pleasant, but I really like the dynamic he and Cooper Tomlinson bring. I like that in their sort of sketch show, That's a Bad Idea. He is usually sort of not the like straight man kind of. He's usually the guy in on the bit. Sometimes they flip it up, but I think Curry's delivery is really good. Um, in that kind of role. He is not in the chair, and neither is Cooper Tomlinson. But you can certainly see sort of that directorial style come out in the, sort of the show don't tell that I think Curry Barker's really, really good at. He's really good at framing. He's really good at using shadows and sets. And I think that shows he's improved constantly. I've watched Milk and Cereal as well, and that is obviously a step up from this, maybe like a half step, and Obsession is its own thing. Editor Nick here. Just wanted to quickly, I'm watching back my thoughts on The Chair, and I'm realizing that I mentioned Curry Barker and Cooper Tomlinson and their performances in Milk and Cereal and in Obsession and whatever. And I realized I totally neglected the performances in The Chair, which is the short film that I'm discussing in this video. My favorite part about the performances from this movie is the female lead, Haley Schwartz. Um, I mean, probably a huge I saw so much Indy Navarette in this performance. There's a sort of a sequence maybe halfway through, sort of when things start to kind of go off the rails, where Haley is able to perform a couple of different emotions one after another, and it is super unsettling. Um, Anthony Pavone also very good as the lead role. He plays Reese, and then Haley Schwartz is Julie. The two leads were very good, and it was clear in 2022 when this came out that Curry Barker had a talent for directing, especially this sort of thriller type of picture. So I just wanted to make sure that I commented on their performances and actually on the short film that I watched, not just about That's a Bad Idea and Curry Barker's other film. Um, but I liked The Chair. The way I do short films, I'm not going to write short films out of 5 stars. I'm just going to say whether I liked them or not in my log. I don't watch a ton of short films, but usually, when somebody like Curry Barker comes out, I'll sort of start to dig around for some of their previous things. But enjoyed The Chair quite a bit. Let's talk about the first movie feature. Yeah, is it feature? I watched The Amazing Digital Circus, the last act on YouTube on the 21st. So Sunday morning must have been super late. I have not been a Digital Circus fan for the past 3 years or however long the show has been going on. I binged the TV show, which I guess I did finish. No, I binged that on Friday, Saturday last 2 weeks ago, so it doesn't really count. But this is sort of my thoughts on the entire show because I think the ending is sort of a good representation of the show. I didn't build the sort of parasocial relationships that a lot of its show's most devout fans did. Um, I don't want to. That doesn't mean I didn't care for the characters or the voice actors or Gooseworks or whatever. I didn't see this in theaters either. I obviously this was just premiered on YouTube. Watched it like this first or second day that I could. Um, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think this show is warped by the internet quite a bit and its fan base. I think there's a lot of very nice details included pretty much in every frame of this show. And you can tell that a ton of work went into the making of this show, technically, as well as the voice acting performances. And, I'm a big fan of an Aaron Hansen sighting from time to time. Like, what is he doing in here? I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's not a super big time commitment. It's just a hour-long episode of the show, but the show is also not a great time commit or big time commitment. It's like you can get it's like 5 hours total. And as a whole, I think my biggest drawback with the show is its humor. I think it suffers a little bit from internet speak a lot. Um, suffers is a little bit strong of a term. That is the show's tone that it's going for. And I do think there are some funny moments, there are some sad moments, there are some heartfelt moments. And overall, if you haven't seen it, I think it is a pretty big, it's an easy watch, and it's a pretty big cultural sort of phenomenon that I think is worth pretty much everybody's time. I gave the Amazing Digital Circus The Last Act a 4 out of 5, and I liked it. Unfortunately, the next movie I watched on the 23rd was a Netflix documentary entitled uh, Maternal Instinct. This documentary is about a case of a woman who, you know, I don't really think I need to give a plot synopsis on in these videos, so I'm not going to. True crime is a pretty touchy subject. I am an enjoyer typically of true crime. I like my JCS and my Matt Orchard videos with the understanding that, the sort of, um, what do you call it? Analyzing their body language is sort of a pseudoscience. I don't watch their videos because, you know, I want that sort of breakdown. I just enjoy police interrogation footage. I enjoy hearing about certain cases, and I think it's interesting. And I think that a lot of channels don't treat the subject matter with the reverence that it calls for and deserves. And I think Maternal Instinct is one of those, frankly, those documentaries. I think the naming of this, if you watch it, you'll get why it's called Maternal Instinct. I think it's sort of an attempt at like a double entendre kind of thing. It doesn't work. It was interesting, but like I sort of alluded to, I don't think it treated this very heavy, serious, and um, destructive subject matter with any reverence. I think they tried to play it as like, ooh, this is an interesting story, but they didn't make it all that interesting, and they didn't treat the victims with like I said, I don't think the respect that they deserved. I gave Maternal Instinct a 2 out of 5. I didn't give it the little heart. Next movie I watched right after, and I'm glad I did, I rewatched Get Out by Jordan Peele. Phenomenal movie. Absolutely phenomenal movie. I knew it in 2017 when it came out that it was a great movie. I knew Jordan Peele was going to be that guy. Obviously, I knew him from Key and Peele. Incredibly funny individual. Great show. And I'll, spoil my thoughts on Us and Nope. But he's the guy's 3 for 3. I think Us has aged incredibly, and I think Nope was great from the start. Get Out, though, something about this being his directorial debut, easily one of, if not the best debut in my lifetime. Um, so much went into this movie. There are so many details. I've seen it a couple of times, maybe 3 or 4 or 5, even in my lifetime, and I'm still picking up new ideas. And catching clues and different, information. I'm still interested in it. I'm watching YouTube video essays on it, almost 10 years later at this point. Um, it's a great movie, and I don't know that there's a weak performance. It's a great. There's a good twist. There's good humor in it. Obviously, with the director being Jordan Peele, and I'm glad that we got it. I'm glad that we sort of get to see horror Jordan Peele. Um, not because of this movie, but um, I'm glad he decided to do it. So I gave this movie a 5 out of 5, and I gave it the like. Of course, no duh, who wouldn't? The fourth movie that I watched this week was The Sheep Detectives that came out this year, along with Digital Circus and Maternal Instinct. Um, I waited for this one to come out on Prime, watched it with my lovely fiance. Um, This movie, I heard good things about it. Um, I was hoping to like it, and I really, really, really did like it. This movie moved me in a way that I don't think a movie has moved me this year, um, and in a long time. I sort of, um, the sort of last 20 minutes of this movie are really incredible. I don't know how else really to put it. It's a great story, like such a unique idea, um, and it's done in such a very, I don't want to say perfect, but yeah, perfect way. Bryan Cranston is incredible. Nicholas Braun is incredible. Um, Molly Gordon is really good. Everybody in this movie brought their absolute best, in my opinion. I enjoyed the crap out of this movie. It made me cry. Movies sometimes make me cry, um, a lot more recently, but this one, I mean, for the last 15 minutes, I was holding it. I was holding it. I'm glad I didn't watch it in theaters because I would have looked, I would have been, I would have been a wreck, in, person. I enjoyed this from start to finish. Very funny, very enjoyable, very interesting. The mystery is really cool to figure out. Um, and like I said, Nicholas Braun as the police officer, who I can't remember his name, um, Thomas Derry or something. And it's Thomas. Um, very good, very good. I recommend it to anybody who hasn't seen it yet. Gave it a 5 out of 5, and it is near the top of my movies released this year. And of course, I gave it the little heart. I watched two movies on the 26th. The first one is Hamnet. Wait till you get the second one. I didn't even try to have a good day on the 26th. I enjoyed Hamnet a good deal. Jessie Buckley, flat out great, incredible, deserved all the awards hype she got for her performance as Agnes. Paul Mescal, very good. He's a good sort of Shakespeare, in the looks department. I know, there's the illustrations or artist renditions of what Shakespeare looked like, but I think modern day Shakespeare probably looks a little bit like Paul Mescal. Um, he plays a really good support to Jessie Buckley, who, again, is just incredible. So is he. Everybody's very good in this movie. The child actors, not usually my cup of tea. I know, hot take, but they were all very good. The shot with Hamnet at the end of the movie, with Agnes seeing him through the play, very great. Quite a tearjerker movie, that I enjoyed. I gave it a 3.5 stars, and the like, of course, the heart. It was, for Jessie Buckley's performance, for everybody's performance, really. I just felt that the relationships within the family were a little bit underdeveloped. I don't mean between Agnes and Will. I mean mostly with the kids. Um, I think that, we really didn't get to see a lot of Will and Hamnet. I understand why. Obviously, the death of a child is horrible. That no parent should ever have to go through that. So I understand why, um, it had that sort of effect on them for the movie and just in general. Um, and this movie is, I think, 2 hours 10 minutes. I don't think that any more would have helped. Any a longer runtime would have helped. Um, but I wish we got to see a little bit more between Will and the kids. 3.5. 3.5's good. Okay. 3.5's very good. I enjoyed it. Gave it the like. I'll probably watch it again sometime, in the future, and I'm sure I'll change my mind. The final movie I watched last week on the 26th, like I said, didn't even try to have a good day on June 26th, was Darren Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream. Um, I'm going to lose a lot of people, I think, here with this opinion. Um, Aronofsky just has never really worked for me. Um, I'm not an Aronofsky expert. And weirdly enough, Mother did work for me, but I think a lot of Aronofsky's movies come off as him sort of guessing what an issue feels like for the person going through it, or what like an addiction, or what I'm not doing a great job of articulating it. That's why he's the filmmaker, and I'm sitting here in my room at 2:18 in the morning talking about his movie from 26 years ago. Um, but this movie is sort of what I feel like somebody who isn't aware of addiction and how it makes people act. This is what they probably think it would make people act like. Um, I will say, I think I'm going to get to the rating because I think it explains a lot of stuff. I can go through what exactly liked about it and what went into the rating. I gave it a 2 out of 5 and no heart. Although the last sequence of the movie was quite good. Once Sarah gets into the mental hospital, and things sort of pick up the pace as things gets more intense and the stakes get higher. It's sort of I could see sort of like, oh, this is kind of where the Safdie brothers got that inspiration from. At least like I'm a big Uncut Gems guy. I got that feeling watching those last 20 or so minutes. His films come off as exploitative to me. They come off as unserious, and I think that the reverence that people treat this movie with, I didn't get any of that out of it. And it is eternally frustrating that Marlon Wayans just wants to make scary movie crap, instead of become like real, because he is a highlight in this movie. I've obviously known that he is, as good as he is in this movie. Everybody gives a really good performance, in my opinion. I just think the subject matter is treated in an unserious tone. And I don't mean like the jumping refrigerator. I think that's fine. I think that speaks to a food addiction. And I think not enough people talk about food addiction. Um, and I'm sure not enough people at the time were talking about that sort of weight loss addiction, um, to the uppers that Sarah was taking. Um, and especially now, I do think that that is an important thing to take into consideration, given how prevalent GLP-1 pills and shots are in our society. It's not the same thing as what they were doing back, when this movie takes place. But I think it's something that, people we need to be aware of and consider, when we put drugs into our bodies. That being said, my biggest issue with it is that his movie, Aronofsky's movies, they just they come off to me as tone deaf. I don't think it just didn't work for me for that reason. Plenty of positives. I named like Jared Leto. I think this was before Joker corrupted him and everybody started hating him. Maybe it isn't, but he was good. His character wasn't. He kind of was the centerpiece of it all. Um, Jennifer Connelly's pretty good. Everybody's pretty good. Um, and I'll probably end up watching this again and maybe giving it an extra half star or two. There are some really good sequences, but my gut coming out of the movie feeling was, I just don't think Aronofsky really understands addiction all that much. Um, but that's definitely the hot take of the video. Let's move on to some TV. Why don't we? I binged the first 5 episodes of Cape Fear with Javier Bardem, Amy Adams, Patrick Wilson. Very good. I would say very good. I really like the sort of campy way that this series is shot. There's a lot of long panning takes, a lot of zooms, and it's edited in a very pleasing way when you're watching it. Um, I think Bardem is so good as Max Cady. Um, I know that the movie is supposed to be set. I actually don't know where the movie's supposed to be set. It's blanking. I'm blanking on it right now. But the accent that Amy Adams is putting on is not my favorite. because it seems like nobody else is doing it. Amy Adams is the only one whose accent is that I can think of is as thick as it is. The kids don't have the accent. Patrick Wilson doesn't have the accent. And sometimes when she talks, it's all I can hear. The first episode's very good. It dips a little bit. The fifth episode is also very good. Um, it does a good show does a good job of painting this feeling that something bigger is going on, and that is what's happening. And you're getting more clues as the series goes on. I'm going to continue watching it. Episodes I think air on Friday, Thursday at midnight, so I will be keeping up on that, and I'll do a little bit more going through specific episodes as the show continues. But very good, so far. And the final thing that I watched the pilot for Widow's Bay. I'm going to continue watching that show after I'm done recording here, and I'll have a little bit more to report if I don't just outright finish it. We'll see. I think it's a very effective pilot. It makes me want to keep watching. Stephen Root, I didn't know Stephen Root was in here. They're setting up a really good mystery with sort of zombie-like creatures. That the fog, is it the fog? Is it a cordyceps virus that affects fishermen? Um, I think there's a really good character dynamic between Stephen Root's character and Matthew Rhys. Really good chemistry between those two. A really good sort of clashing going on between them, at least in this pilot. And the rest of the town sort of comes off as a little bit skittish. It feels like everybody kind of knows, because they do. They're from the area. Um, Mayor Tom Loftus is trying to drive tourists to the island, so he's trying to make it look as good as possible. But meanwhile, there's a fog coming, so I'm excited to see. I don't want to get into too much speculation on it because I've only seen the um, pilot, but I'm very intrigued and excited to continue, and I have high hopes for the series. Thanks for watching my first ever weekly roundup. I'm excited to get to doing these. Let me know what you thought about the media that I consumed this week. And I'm interested to see what you guys rated, what I watched, whatever. Talk about whatever you want to. My links are below. They're also in my channel description. If you click on my page, my letterboxed and serialized links are there. Drop me a sub and a like if you like what you saw and you're interested in seeing more. Thanks for watching.